A very good evening and welcome to the Batenegi Parliament Talk Show, broadcasting live from the Access TV studios right here in Gaborone, Botswana. And my name is Waheng Batenegi. We're doing this every Tuesday between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Batenegi Parliament, that is on YouTube as well as Facebook. Access TV, Facebook, like I did promise you, I have the pleasure to welcome the Leader of Opposition, Honorable Dithapelo, Lefoko, Keorapetse. Also remember that he's a Member of Parliament for Siliwe Pikwe. Keorapetse, thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah, thank you so very much, and good evening to you and all those watching this program. Wherever they are.
No. I'll just ask you yes. My first question to you, Keorapetse, your journey so far as the Leader of Opposition, how has it been?
Yeah, it hasn't been easy. I remember this when I went into the office of the Leader of Opposition. One of the major challenges that I had to deal with was the decision by the ruling party to dismantle parliamentary committees, arguing that they are the majority party in parliament and they should get more positions in committees. So it hasn't been easy. It affected oversight. It affected, the proper functioning of committees. We took a decision as the Joint Opposition Caucus that because we have been kicked out of committees and that the ruling party wants committees to be controlled at the ruling party caucus, basically cabinet. You know the dynamics of our parliament.
Yes.
Our parliament is executive dominated. 46% of our parliament are members of the executive. 66% of the ruling party caucus is the executive. So, meaning that whatever decision that is taken from cabinet is ratified at the caucus, and then if they dominate committees, it would mean that committee decisions will be made at the ruling party caucus. So it was difficult, but otherwise we I think under my stewardship, assisted by the Whip Ramotsamai, we managed to provide that oversight in Parliament in terms of questions, in terms of themes, in terms of private bills, in terms of motions, in terms of debates on policy issues. So I think we have managed to do that well. But again, under the leadership of my leadership of the Office of the Leader of Opposition, I've tried as much as possible to, create opportunities for other members of parliament to represent me internationally, to also rotate in terms of acting leaders of opposition, including in other parties like BPF. Occasionally, we will have one member of the BPF acting as the leader of opposition. Reles Rematot have done so. Yeah. But it hasn't been easy, as I say, yes, primarily because of the intention by the ruling party to basically frustrate oversight efforts.
Yes. Talking of the parliamentary committees, and that rule of providing oversight, why would the ruling party want to dominate the committees while they are the ruling party and they need to be checked under normal circumstances so far as democracy is concerned?
Yeah, I think you have in part answered the question.
Yeah.
Why would the ruling party, which is supposed to be scrutinized in how they are administering this polity, in terms of how they are spending the money, why would they now want to be the ones who are in control of parliamentary
What
committees?
Do you think that is that reason?
Well, the idea is that when we started this parliament, we had a significant number of chairpersons of committees coming from the opposition, especially the Umbrella for Democratic Change. And but we have had the ruling party, dominating committees in terms of their numerical strength. Even though this is an anomaly, the argument is that they have to be the majority in the committees primarily because they are the ruling party, and that Botswana have decided to put them in charge. But you see, what they fail to understand is that they are the minority in terms of members of parliament eligible to serve in committees. They are 14 currently, and we are 20 on the other side. So who is supposed to be the majority in committees? Who is supposed to ordinarily be, chairpersons of committees? Do we expect the members of the ruling party to be, greatly provide scrutiny on basically their bosses as in ministers? I don't think that it was to be expected.
Yes,
but the idea was to frustrate oversight, obviously, so that there is less scrutiny.
Yes, looking at the animosity in which you occupied the position of the leader of opposition. Would you say you have been able to get the majority support from all the members of parliament from the opposition? Possibly as well as their parties.
Well, majority, yes, of course, they support our efforts in parliament. As I say, we have been in very good terms with the Alliance for Progressive and the Botswana Patriotic Front. We have been working together, as members of the opposition. So, and of course, remember how of course I ascended to office was as a result of the decision of the caucus to say we need somebody who can be, in terms of the standing orders, the leader of opposition is the chief spokesperson of the Umbrella for Democratic Change or the majority party after the ruling party, which is the UDC, is the chief spokesperson. So they sought to correct an anomaly where they thought that the party was inadequately represented in terms of its chief spokesperson in the parliament. Want somebody who will articulate the UDC manifesto, the UDC policies, the UDC's aspirations. So the decision was taken by members of parliament.
You not mentioned the Botswana Congress Party.
Well, there is no BCP in parliament. There is no BCP in parliament.
But we know that when the Botswana Congress Party was part of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, there are those members of parliament who by membership, party membership, they are from the Botswana Congress Party. I wanted to pick from you if those members of parliament support you.
Well, obviously the relationship will be different, but what we have been trying to do is to say on issues of mutual interest, we need to put our differences aside and work together as members of the opposition.
Has that been possible?
It has been possible in the sense that when you look at when we ask questions or when they ask questions, that category of MPs, and you get to see the supplementary questions either from our side or from their side, you'll realize that we are on the same page in terms of the idea of putting Botswana first. When it comes to motions, all motions from the opposition party, we have supported those motions. They have also supported us when we raised motions. On the bills, the private bills that we brought in parliament, they have supported those bills, and we have also supported their private bills. A case in point is the recently held special meeting on Constitution Amendment Bill 2024, where we worked together in making sure that we put Botswana's interest first.
Yes, the former leader of opposition, Dumela Salshando, would you say he has been supportive of you, looking at the fact that he was the leader of opposition and you took over him, and like I said, under those circumstances whereby the Botswana Congress Party was pulling out of the UDC?
Well, I think we are mature politicians. We appreciate that there are differences of opinions when it comes to how we look at things. And in this particular circumstance, there is a major difference in terms of our view that we shouldn't have dismembered the UDC. The UDC ought to have been an compact, the same way as when the BCP joined. I believe it was in 2017. So that is the major difference of opinion, that we think that the UDC is an electoral vehicle. It's Botswana's project that we need to work with to win state power. Not just to win state power, but also to change the people's lives.
Yes.
But in terms of his support in parliament, as I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, that he has presented a private bill on electoral amendment bill. I'm one of those who supported the bill. I have presented motions before. I have debated. I have presented issues which he has supported in Parliament. So when we are in that coliseum, we are not there to fight against each other, but we are in that house to fight in the same corner against an enemy, which is the ruling party.
But Honorable Keorapetse, how would you describe your relationship with him? At least
it's a professional relationship. It has always been a professional relationship as a comrade. Personally, we have never had a close personal relationship where we could sit for a drink and discuss how I'm doing at my cattle post. No.
Have you ever felt like maybe possibly he might be feeling that you may have been used to topple him from the position?
Used by who? Used by who?
Yes.
I mean, it will obviously be a position that I think will, in my way, in my view, would be seeking to undermine my intelligence. I mean, I don't think I can be used politically. I've studied politics, Mr. Batenegi, and I've taught politics at the university. I've been a political activist from Form 4. That is when I became active politically, in terms of, trying to convince people to our side, in terms of being active in a political party. And I was 17 years of age by then. So you can imagine, I've served in the Central Committee for more than 10 years. And so I don't think anybody can come and use me to use your words.
Yes.
To do this or that way.
Yeah.
So I think that my loyalty lies with the people. And as I say, the UDC is a people's project. And when the people say, look, we need to remove this party which has been in power for 58 years.
Keorapetse, let's move forward, but I want to appreciate and understand from you, how was it easy or difficult to choose the Umbrella for Democratic Change over the Botswana Congress Party when they decided to, the political party decided to pull out of the coalition?
Yeah. As individuals, as politicians, we must not be loyal to other individuals or organizations per se. Yes, we must work in organizations. We must give our all to organizations. But the most important thing is that we must be loyal to principles. So that is the most important thing. So the principle here is that we had taken a decision that we need to be part of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, because the Umbrella for Democratic Change had proven that it is a viable entity that can remove the ruling party from power. Not only to do that, but to also, usher in a new order, because after every revolution is a new order. Yes. So, in being loyal to these principles, when an organization now decides to deviate, to detour from the principle, remain with the principle. Don't be swayed by the organization, because, and for the most part, when we say organization, we actually mean leadership, because those are the people that most of the time take decisions that you go in, you go out, you go in, you go out.
You talk about not being loyal to an individual. Are you suggesting that there was somebody who was expecting that you be loyal to him?
No, there's generally an expectation that people must be loyal to their leaders. They must be loyal to organizations, which is a good thing. But I'm saying an overarching thing ought
leaders
to be,
in this case, meaning
ought to be loyalty to principles. So that is why you get people defecting from parties, is because sometimes the party would have detoured from what would have been their principles. You ask many politicians, I think that's what they will tell you. Yeah.
Right, so Dithapelo Lefoko, Keorapetse, leader of opposition in the National Assembly of Botswana, also a member of Parliament for Silibe Pico West. Batenegi Parliament Talk Show, broadcasting live from the Access TV studios right here in Gaborone, Botswana. Remember, you can ask Keorapetse a question or comment during the show. Make sure that you also call us live to ask Keorapetse any question or comment during the show. We are going for a very short commercial break. When you come back, we continue with Keorapetse. Broadcasting live from the Access TV studios right here in Gaborone, Botswana, the Batenegi Parliament Talk Show. My name is Waheng Batenegi. Kuta stop sa me ka go ba mpolela gore la ngware ga gore re tshoma thata re ta dirisa dipuo tsotlhe se go ga mmogo le Setswana ya ka ne ke tlhalosa ke na ha le raiso Dithapelo Lefoko Keorapetse re tswele le thulaganyo ya rona ha ne ke batla re o etsa monteng e ne o bua hore there were some people who were expecting you that you know possibly become loyal to leadership. I want to appreciate and understand from you leadership in this case who.
Well, I don't think it's a very helpful question, but you see the thing is that I cannot during the day from morning during the day
some people believe that there is a rift
during the day I cannot claim to be a member of the UDC in Parliament. And the moment I step out of Parliament, I start, throwing insults at the UDC. To say UDC ke supporto ha go dua mo teng ha go laelwe, saying all manner of things, degrading the value of the UDC. That is why I'm talking about a principle that if you have committed to be a member of, if you have committed to a principle of freeing batho mo mokgwabeng, ba party ebusa ngena le more than 58 or almost 58 years ebusa. I mean, you cannot do that.
Yes. You suggesting that Red Milan Salashando and some other members of Parliament who are members of the Botswana Congress Party were being hypocritic.
Well, I can speak for myself. I can speak for myself. I could not stand on a platform and throw insults at the UDC when I got into Parliament through the UDC ticket.
Yes.
Ke tsentse ke UDC mo parlamente Batswana ba ntopile ka UDC ere dumalane nko kanye ere dumalane re sena go nna re consulta mo di regioning le ke na le mme ke dumela re ke Daisy Bathusi re simolotse ko mahalapera phalapera go heta ka sero ke rona ba le re tsoheletsa re le ko lethakane.
Yes,
consulting members of the BCP on whether re ba utule sente ko kanye gore ba re go yo ko UDC, and that's exactly what they told us.
So some people suggest that it was a matter of you choosing Comrade Dumaboko over.
No, I chose the UDC. I didn't. As I say, I didn't choose Dumaboko. I chose the UDC. I chose a principle. Well, it's a coincidence that we are homeboys. O tswa ka ha thoseng nna ke tswa ka ha go ga konyana ka ha mangwatho ka ha madibatho madithotse. So I think it's a coincidence that we are homeboys.
But Keorapetse, what do you understand to be the reason of the Botswana Congress Party to move out of the UDC according to your understanding?
Well, as I say, it's the question that you can ask my BCP, but I think they're on record in terms of why they left. I've got my own views.
Yes.
My own views are
I want your own views.
Yes, my own views, because I was there, was that I think there was an expectation after the 2019 elections that Dumaboko will resign as president of the UDC, and then that his vice president, Salashando, will rise to to the.
Where did that expectation come from?
Well, as I say, I'm the member of the BCP, and I had interactions with various BCPs. There was suggestion from the Youth League that Duma Boko must resign because the party did not perform well during the 2019 elections, when we had a court case challenging the results of the elections, you know, and our posture at the time as an organization was that no, nothing of the sort of cheating happened during our elections, and I don't think it was appropriate. The Youth League, as I said, they called for Duma Boko to resign, and all manner of things. You know, started people saying UDC, how are you congressing? People who were in the National Executive Committee of the UDC without an election, and knowing very well that the UDC was in the process of reforming its constitution. The UDC was in the process of, addressing that particular aspect.
Yes.
Yeah. But they were too impatient, and they wanted Duma Boko out.
Yes. Are you saying the Botswana Congress Party, and by extension, its president, Comrade Dumela Salishando, were positioning themselves to take, total control of the leadership of the UDC? Well,
that was as I say, the expectation and the wish was that Boko would have resigned and then paved the way for his vice president.
Yes. So you feel like this was an excuse, the issue of the UDC not holding elections?
Well, for me, I mean, if you are a party that can expel 5 members of parliament without giving them a hearing, you think you have any moral ground to say that you are more democratic than any other person. I was expelled without a hearing. I got a suspension letter where I was told that charges against me will be sent to me. I never received a single charge. The next letter was a dismissal letter where I was told that I was kicked out of the BC.
And your suspension was imposed by the Botswana Congress Party conference, am I correct?
No. The suspension was from the Central Committee, or the executive, because the letter I think was signed by the party
expulsion
chairman, by the party chairman.
That was the expulsion
and the expulsion.
The conference that held at Mahalape of the
yes, of course. But as I say, Audi alteram patem, where was the basic principle of hear the other side? Yeah, they may well have had good reasons, but the basic democratic principle is that hear the other side. You cannot expel 5 members of parliament without giving them a hearing. You get my point.
So according to you, the Botswana Congress Party were not wrong to call for elections within the umbrella for democratic change. Your position is just that they did not have the moral authority because they also did not, according to you, give you a fair chance.
No. What I'm saying is that, when you exude an attitude of a superior virtue, in some parlance they will say, when you throw stones and you live in a glass house. I mean, there are so many things that people ask about.
So the BCP are not
about no. The wrongness. You see, it matters for ubua di khango kae. Mongokila bua gore ha re motho maka we don't necessarily say that motho wa ba sa bua nnete. Ha ngwa ba bua nnete kwa se tshwanang gore o ka ibuela teng. So now, if only a member of the National Executive Committee of the UDC, and you are responsible for championing the review of the constitution of the UDC, and then you point a finger and say, this organization, which I'm part of, which I'm even a member of, which I'm even a part of its leadership, why would you do that? Why not get inside and talk these things inside? Why not fulfill your responsibility or champion the reform of the constitution of the UDC?
You are talking about Dumela Salishando.
I'm talking about leaders who stood on a platform and held profanities against the UDC, degraded the value of the UDC, and said all manner of things against the Umbrella for Democratic Change. When they were in the leadership of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, when they were supposed to be the chief spokespersons of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, And you want to tell me that that's how organizations should function? UDC cannot condone lawlessness. It couldn't condone lawlessness. If I had done so, my expectation was that the UDC ought to have taken action against it.
Yes. Honorable Keorapetse, I want to appreciate and understand from you, has there ever any point whereby Red Melan Salashando, as the president of the Botswana Congress Party, called you as the Umbrella for Democratic Change members of parliament who are members of the Botswana Congress Party and set you down to say, look, can you help me remove Comrade Juma Boko from the presidency of the Umbrella for Democratic Change?
No, there was never such a meeting. I just remember one meeting, I think it was a GICC, where one of the members of parliament from the Northwest, UDC member of parliament from the Northwest, asked Redu Melan Salashando Hore.
You're talking about Kenny Kapinga?
No, I'm not talking about Kenny Kapinga. To be precise, I think it was Honorable Kainangura Hikwam.
Hikwam, yes.
Yeah, he asked a question. Yeah, Hore. We see the Khanza Hore Totahela Otsanzo or take over from Redu Maboko. Are you aware of these sentiments?
Sentiments by who?
Within the BCP. Are you aware of those sentiments? And if you are aware, what have you done about them? Because I can't go into details, but he expressed his misapprehension. So I can kore khona le batho ba neng ba dumela gore Reboko a tsogotsena re dumelang Salashano. Ha ke go bolelle matsamekwane because I grew up in that party. I know the sentiments. It's a but kana hareleko when we were still before 2022 July, a lot of things were happening, and which we had briefed the NEC about. UDC instead of BCP, but there was no BCP in parliament. How to by election, my BCP, you contribute to a candidate who will be a UDC candidate, but a member of
Did you attend
a member of the BCP? I attended because I was a member of the BCP. But my loyalty to principles were that I know Ronaldo by elections. And I had to know Lonama Parliament the member as a BCP contribute a candidate well on had to give BCP candidate Melahara Naga UDC. I will contribute, but I will also contribute towards a candidate well on Enekwa UDC, maybe from a different political party. As I say, for me, it's a principled position.
Did you ever ask any questions why that was happening?
Of course. We've always asking questions. Remember, as I say, under my activism, I started when I was 17 years old. I can't look at things going wrong and not ask questions. Yeah, when I see things going wrong, I will ask questions.
Yes.
And I was asking questions during those times.
Going back to your choice of the Umbrella for Democratic Change.
The main crux of the interview.
No,
I thought really. That was not going to be the case.
No, not really.
No, it's okay. That's
fine. You choosing the Umbrella for Democratic Change over the Botswana Congress Party. Do you feel, the leadership of the Botswana Congress Party possibly feel betrayed by you?
Well, you can ask them what their feeling is. Yeah. But some are so civil that they understand that this was a difference of opinion on a political matter. And they are civil enough to sit down with me, break bread with me, even find out if I'm doing well on a personal space. There are those. But those that obviously there will be those who hold a different view. Yeah. So, but it's unfortunate if they can look at this as a betrayal. My view, as I say, is that I talked to the people of Pikwe, including majority of the councillors that we won under UDC in Pikwe West, they thought, look, this is the way we need to go.
Yes. Yeah. 2014, when you went to Parliament for the very first time, you took over a constituency that was previously held by Gilson Salashana.
Yeah.
Have you ever had, a word with him? Not that it was necessary for you to do so. I just want to, check if you.
Well, I respect him as a conversation. Yeah, I respect him as a veteran.
Choosing UDC over the Botswana Congress Party.
Yeah, I respect him as a veteran. And as I say, when I made that decision, I've had extensive discussions with so many people in the party, both the UDC, both the BCP, and even those that are not politically aligned, in terms of what really the principle will dictate that the route. So yeah.
Yes. Currently, the opposition parties are finding it very difficult to get under, one roof, as some people, possibly will like. Okay, not that it's written that opposition parties should always be under one coalition, but we are finding a situation whereby you guys are trying, but you are finding it very difficult. Your opinion, what could be the...
Yeah, we cannot stop trying, and we cannot also obliterate the fact that if you take a key member of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, which is the Botswana National Front, was formed primarily for the sole objective of removing the BDP from power and ushering in a new order. So that is why when the UDC leader says BNF is a natural leader, is a natural leader, when they know very well that he's talking about a historical imperative. The Botswana National Front, when it was formed with the sole aim of joining the political party,
speaking to the front.
So yes, and speaking to the front aspect, name of the BNF, which is why it's a key aspect of the Umbrella for Democratic Change, and we have this entity PDP mo puso. There will be challenges on the way, as we can see that we have had challenges. In 2014, the BCP was not part of. In 2019, it was part of the UDC. We are going to 2024. They want out.
Right.
We are now with the AP. We are now with the BPP and the BNF and so many ex-BCP members.
Leader of opposition, Dithapelo Lefoko, Keorapetse, also a member of parliament for CDB Pikwe West, Batenegi Parliament talk show. Hana le potso khotsa ka khelo o ka romela jalo our platforms Batenegi Parliament as well as Access TV. Wa ka hartswa ka tibertswala jalo le thulaganyo.
More ditori tse serious head on with Dalakachi Katatu Livat Bamoli Hatsi.
Minister Abatopiwa inama especially elected bangoba promotiwa ina the head of the director Kai, the permanent secretary Kubokoti women does not women is in fact an insult to women.
Ketolakira abatokire ramasisi kitala yani. And kitana kirialo he
muruti ga gona muruti wa boa maruri yo kolobeditsweng ka mo boitshepo yo joiners politics baruti bothe ba ba joiners politics mo Botswana ba ta re itshwarela bothe ga se baruti ba boa maru
Ramasisi a tswe mo vice president anga ka bua gore ke bo mang ne ba real because bona go ba te ba tsa gore wa re senyetsa kere
Me kanya gore Masisi must resign. Ise motsa ka bo morwae.
motho me ke bua ke go amogele mo thulaganyong ya Batenegi at Parliament Talk Show ha le gore ke gone o inakanya le thulaganyo ya rona moeteledipele wa kganetso ko parlamenteng ya Botswana ra itse Dithapelo Lefoko Keorapetse go tlogela gape gore ke mo parlamente wa kgaolo yele ya Phikwe bophirima ke ne le gore ke na le ene mo tsatsing la gompieno re Keorapetse re tswele le thulaganyo ya rona ha mme re tsena mo thulaganyo ya rona e ana ra re hetela ka di kgaolo go tota go di kganya tse di amana le kgaolo ya gago ke tsa gore le ba ileng gore gongwe ba ka tswa ile gore gongwe kana ga ba go rate le gore gona ba sa go rate ke tsona sa re ba nthui ba kana ka bantate gongwe ba ka dumalana gore gongwe o dirile go tala ka diata ha go ta mo dikganyeng tse di amana le go tswala ga moepo wa BCL o buditse dipotso ko parlamenteng o tsentse ditshutiso ga ke itse go ka wena mo nakong ya gompieno le mo parlamente wa Phikwe West o ka re where are we at this particular junction, where are we going o ka ra o pe leng gore o na bereka mo moepong wa BCL e leng gore wa milwe ke go tswala ga moepo wa BCL o re
well gone go boammaruri ntwa BCL ke lo le thata re Batenegi nna ke itumella gore boammaruri ke bo buile mo parlamenteng ha go tswala moepo wa BCL ke na ka tlhalosa gore nya mme this is a monumental mistake ke phoso go tswala ga moepo wa BCL ke ne ke bua gore at the time the nickel was selling at $4 per pound copper I think was maybe about $3 or less per pound but now we are talking about a commodity that is selling at about $8 per pound nickel and copper selling at around $5 per pound. So it was a monumental mistake to close the mine. The resource is depleted. I demonstrated through figures in Parliament. The resource is there. The ore is there. So premium nickel resources, they have done drillings on the ground. They have done underground drillings. There is ore deposits, nickel and copper and other credits around that area. So at least I've demonstrated against all odds there is future of mining in Phikwe in that parliament when everybody else especially on the other side of the aisle they sought to spread a message that the future of mining in Phikwe. So but unfortunately babereki ba pele ba BCL ga ba ka ba duelwa ka haneng ke soletse ka teng gore ba ta duelwa le ka nne gore menta promise ka teng 12 to 18 months gore ba ta duelwa that didn't happen. They were paid salary ya kgwedi, they were paid leave days ba ba neng ba na le di leave but banks and other creditors they decided gore ba tse madi a bona. More than 300 people close to 300 people have been put under civil imprisonment for failure to pay debts in Phikwe since BCL was closed. The national figure is more than 460 per annum since President Masisi ascended to the high office of president. So we are talking more than 2,000 people. So ke le khantse ke di buileng ko parlamente gore ke le sa duele batho madi a bone ba tswe mo dikolotong ba khona re ba itsimolele botshelo sesha. They were about to be kicked out of Mantu recently and ke tsentse tshutiso ko parlamenteng ke kwaletse office of the president ke kwaletse minister wa minerals gore no we can't let the town become desolate by rentsha batho mo Mantu ke tsone gore mentana hela tse re tshotso ya gore me a reke Mantu a BCL le ha ile gore o gana go bua gore tota me a reng because babereki ba pele ba BCL ba nthumile ko parlamenteng gore nna re eletsa go reka Mantu a ka dithwathwa tse di bonolo ka a special package e ka nna rent to buy e ka nna lena no le le motswako wa Batenegi e ka nna metswakonyana yone ya bosha me hela bana ba at subsidized figures
bangwe ba re no ithokomolosa wena le ba bangwe gore gone mme moepo wa BCL no gopela gore mente no tsama di a mantsi mo gore mente ba re no dintlha tse gore no di ithokomolosa
and I have demonstrated. I have asked a question to Rema Tambo as he then was Minister of Finance and Development Planning. Gore Mathamba go le parliament gore mo dingwageng tse di kana BCL ke la hiwa madi a kae. And he was clear that there was no money from the Consolidated or Development Fund which was sent to BCL. Of course, go ne gona le tsone dio tsa gore nya merita skere the royalties re ta skere kgetisi and so on and so forth. But in terms of gore year in year out mo budgeting ne go tebokana ya go BCL, it's false. I've asked that question in parliament and the former minister was actually went on record to say no. Within that period, I even demonstrated before BCL was collapsed in 2016. I think 2 or so years before, government actually took more than $1 billion from BCL. I said that in parliament, demonstrated that no, you actually took money from BCL.
Why was the money closed?
So you see, you cannot let Batubale 15,000 5,000 directly employed, 10,000 indirectly employed.
Why was the mine closed?
No, well, the mine kana government to buile mabagamanti. Bana bare nickel at the king, the Norilski. Never bakolota Norilski as BCL. Like BCL ne unwa government. Bana bar no kana Norilski hakarisa court. Ekata ya liquidate divets aya songwele sengwe. But it later emerged from the records that actually that deal of Norilski, of BCL buying Komati for South Africa, was a deal that never was. So there was no debt.
Right.
The main reason we were told for closure of BCL was that there was a debt of close to 3 billion. And it later emerged that there was actually no debt.
Is an organization. Last be Pico Diversification.
Yes,
can diversify the lives of
the economy of people away from mining.
Yeah,
of course,
away from mining. Jano handle gore reneri dileka le khotla le video khotsa mo gopolo video speed maybe re wa re tswala moepo batho matshelo a bonantsa a wela kota se go rai.
Well, kana people say, I think maybe I was more audible ka BCL, but there are a lot of things that I have raised in parliament. Hormente has decided to take advantage of clauses in the SACU and other trade agreements and clauses to protect the infant industries. I proposed in parliament uniforms, protective clothing, corporate wear. Filling station, all these uniforms. Personal protective clothing, the mining. Let's school uniform school. As a miss for an agreed duration, so that textile companies steady go pick. The manufacturer uniform. When government responded by issuing a statutory instrument, last year, it responded like a uniform, tunic. The shirt that's on the blue, Marukama, Grey, Pepper, Kamenzena, all these other shops. And they get okay, they have partly answered the plea. They have not answered the PPEs, they have not answered the corporate wear, so that we can have this boom textile industry. So SPEDU is meant to facilitate investment, both foreign investment and domestic investment. I've argued in parliament, it's important that we focus on domestic investment. They are being high. Dithapelo, and naturalized citizens.
So SPEDU was not a deliberate project.
So SPEDU as a
diversify the lives of the people or the economy.
Well, the idea was that it will diversify.
Mine closed.
Yeah, the idea was that it will diversify the economy away from mining, and it has failed in that regard, in the sense that the town's economy remained undiversified until the mine was closed. And in terms of job creation, SPEDU incentives. The main ones are 3. One is that government commits to 30% of take. For Batenegi abula factory, edira meat. Government will buy 30% ya meat ya Batenegi corporations ya dira mo phikwe ha mo maboteleng a le 100 government they expect to agora re ke a le 30 but there is absolutely nothing that is binding even on government agencies, departments, companies, parastatals to buy the 30%.
Yes.
So that is why today we can have a government entity procuring uniform ebe nela an agent instead of a manufacturer tender writing abatsa ma go reka dilo tseo ko China abata dinela government because this person ha bindi we ke sepe gore a reke 30% go phikwe. The second incentive is the 5% corporate income tax. But what is 5% corporate income tax when you cannot make money? The third one is import duty reduction. But again, it only applies when you are buying machinery from outside or you are buying huge quantities of raw materials from outside. So, Keswan Sekering Spade has failed in the regard that and I can blame Spade, I blame your dealing Spade, which is the government. How do you make an entity a toothless? It can only facilitate, but it cannot even cooperate and become a partner in business. It facilitate. It only plays a facilitating role.
But can you appreciate that there are some of the projects or success stories that possibly Spade has brought in the region?
Well, if you take more in the Spade region, honale le di components e leng gore yes ka facilitation bana ba khona go allocate to lehads bana ba khona gore ba set up ko phikwe but how lebella bokete ja madi a tsentswe mo Spade hundreds of millions o bo lebella ditiro tse e leng gore directly they were created o bona gore o ka re ga gona return on investment the ends primarily because as I say in a human mandate they allow a facilitative role, but if you can expand the mandate to include an investment arm of the government, it could be much better.
Right. Dithapelo wa khanetso ko parlamenteng ya Latsela Botswana right so Dithapelo Lefoko Keorapetse ile mo parlamente wa kgaolo ya Sedibe Phikwe bophirima ke no gore na le ene mo tsatsing la gompieno mo thulaganyo ya Batenegi at Parliament talk show re togare ya motsubong wa thulaganyo mme pele ga re ka dira ka tsela entseng jalo mekete ke bale jalo melatsa ya gago ha Joseph Ntshwariseng are leader of opposition himself ke tsa gore wa khola ene re Keorapetse khotsa wa boitumela Emmanuel Petogare honorable shed light please why are we seeing the rollout of launches and manifesto now ko kare e chaile my leader I think you will note that Keorapetse then deliberate
yes.
On that case, our spokesperson is umbrella for democratic change, but I think you shed light on it. Kabo Kitsurile, UDC is the only alternative Pico West for Dithapelo. Tsa ba Pikwe, Jalo ile Kabo Kitsurile. Boys Halibidi, when is UDC intending to field MPs at Serowe constituency since BPF has long left the UDC hakizora leone utaya komba rekora pizimi kizora umweledi wa umbrella for democratic change yomwe haki aregene bopa pattern the principles are key for one to be called a genuine politician you qualify a real Dithapelo Keorapetse to be called a genuine politician ne le bopa pattern le gona jaka ke bala mela tsa gaga yomwe ke ha ke nthusang gaboage o ta intshwarela ke le gore ga ke bitse sefane sa go senterra ya ke motho ke ratang go senya difane tsa batho ka gore sa mega se ka sengwa ke gale ha le go gale are viva UDC viva ke nthusang ne le tsone dikagelo tsa gago ha go gologala gore ha le gore o eletsa go ka letsa ka kwano gona le mogala o ileng gore re ta hitisa ho on our screen o ka re tshwara ka mogala ka kwano re Keorapetse go ka ditsi bogala ka boheu
yeah okay re ntse re le mo re biditswe ke bogogi ja party boeteletswe pele ke ena re mohasa o ileng gore ke ene a tshwere marapo ko office ya UDC mme a tilele bo mantswitswi di bo mankge ba ileng gore bana ba re tsentse dithuto tsa gore re ipakanyetsa yang ipapatso ntse re le go phalape maabanyane ana Saturday Sunday gore ra go dibela ya nthopho re ke a kopa le ba bangwe ba thalositse ka botswapelo gore maitamo a UDC re tsamaya kae ba ne ba gona le keletso ya gore re ntse dikakgelo a ke re manifesto wa UDC kana no bata dikakgelo di tswa mongwe so ne rena le presentation yo ne le gore di ipakanyetsa yang ipapatso jaanong ko phuthegong yone we have been updated ka gone gore e tare mo nakonyaneng e sa hediseng pelo e be ile gore bogogi bo tantsa schedule of activities go simolola ka launch ya manifesto which I think will be on the 14th manufacture unveiling ya di candidates so tele manifesto ke dumela re tana ka di 14 ha ile rongwa ke tabe ke ho se date but mehela it will come soon then we'll roll out the launch across the country so ke dumela gore rongwa ke arabile potso
so constituencies somebody says when are you fielding candidates
well all constituencies ke tsa gore bogogi bota tlhalosa kganyego gore as the UDC re lebeletse ditsompelo tsa rona both material and human resources are we able to field in the 61 constituencies I think that is what the leadership will clarify
yes I want us to touch on the issue of the economic transformation maybe by extension the umbrella for democratic change where we are right now le dumela gore itshurelo ya lehatsela Botswana e ka tokadiwa ka tselentseng jang so that it can provide better livelihoods for Botswana.
Well, tota ke ra gore ya ka o tlhalosa right rona kana re le umbrella for democratic change we are very clear we are steadfast and unwavering on our promise ya gore 100,000 jobs in 12 months re clear ga re boele ko morago we are obviously revising the figure ya living wage rona re dumela gore the principle ya living wage ke kganyeleng gore ga ra tshwanna gore batho ba duelwa dituelo tsa bokgoba ha o bereka ko Pep o bereka ko Cummins o bereka ko CB stores o bereka ko Choppies ha re expect gore bo duela madi a less than 3,000 as at 2019 so obviously that figure will be revised or dumela gore living wage you see people think that this economy it's a maisiwa ka tsela e leng gore batho ba duelwa ka go kgona ga economy no a deliberate decision has been taken gore we are going to run a low wage economy. How do you explain re Batenegi gore modirela puso wa maemo a go godimo mo government o duela madi a kana ka 92,897 pula per month mme o duela nkota su duela 2,859 pula per month ka UDC ga go amogelesega re dumela gore the Gini coefficient kana diphapantsha dituelo tsa ba duelwang go godimo le kotase le ba humileng le ba humanegileng that gap is onzore in net close
so la UDC le dumela gore di president so re bile mo government
no our belief is that and you see it and there is a misconception ya gore government ga ka tja ona di compone government ga ka tja na le sabe se stona mo itshulelo and I have said this countless times in parliament during the 11th parliament during the 12th parliament as a student of political economy as a political activist gore the Southeast Asian countries their economic development is a substantive negation of this notion ya gore government ha ka kana le sabe mo itshulelo what happened when Kia was collapsing in South Korea the government bought shares in Kia today even members of parliament in Botswana but transport to Kia because it did not collapse when the market did not favor Kia the government stepped in the Fortune 500 companies Fortune 500 companies 135 are Chinese companies
yes
including 4 top Chinese banks they are part of when we talk about big banks in the world 4 are Chinese banks, including banks that are owned by the government. So this notion ya gore government must roll back and let the private sector control the economy, it's a fallacy.
Yes,
yes, it's a fallacy.
Where does that notion come from? Where they are, the parasitical?
Well, it's a Washington consensus neoliberal notion ya gore.
What's the role of BDC then?
What the role of BDC? Well, BDC has been a monumental failure in the sense of being an investment arm of the state. Why is it that Botswana government through BDC doesn't own construction companies winning jobs in the DRC, winning jobs in Mozambique, winning jobs in Angola, or winning jobs in construction jobs in South Africa? In the response to hama hatsia gonna le peace mo hon rona governance for many years. There's also the BDC e dirisa the sovereign wealth fund. The sovereign wealth fund.
Investor jango matsinga mo Keorapetse BDC invest le mo di project tsengwe tse dingwe bile di collapse
exactly that's the reason why I'm saying it's been a monumental failure primarily for that reason, because you see why is it that we don't have a sovereign wealth fund? Because Pula Fund, Pula Fund is a sovereign wealth fund. It's a joke.
Right. Keorapetse thulaganyo rena ya bokhutung me ke batla go utlwa maikutlo a gago ha re ntse re mo dikganyeng tse di amana le thabollo ya 25% that the government managed to secure from the our deal with DBS. You should be happy as the UDC or the opposition.
Well, where can be the happiness? Because you see the when you talk about transparency, I don't have the contract. Neither do you. No one has seen that contract except maybe the president, the minister of minerals, maybe DBS and Botswana. Those are the only people by law that are privy to the contract. We don't even know if that contract is signed.
You don't believe? You don't?
No. The point I'm making is that I don't have information on the specific clauses of the contract. But in terms of securing 50%, and I've said this in Parliament and in other aspects, first and foremost, and I'm glad that one of the former CEOs of DBS was quoted repeating my words. Let's start doing what the Saudis have done. Let's have a controlling stake in DBS. When you talk about intellectual property ownership of DBS and the government of Botswana controls stake in DBS, we'll be talking about Botswana owning that intellectual property. We cannot be having 15% shares in DBS when 3 or 2 out of 3 diamonds in the diamond production near DBS are Botswana diamonds.
This relationship
it doesn't make sense to me.
Yes,
look at what the Saudis did with Saudi Aramco. When Saudi Aramco started, the Americans owned more than 90% stake.
Yes,
but as we speak now, they own 2%, but the Saudis own about 98% in Saudi Aramco, which is $1.8 trillion net worth company. So, let's own controlling stake in DBS. First and foremost, before we talk about the 50% share. For instance, the 50% share, if I may ask, the 50% the diamonds will be here. How much percentage of those diamonds will be beneficiated in Botswana? How does this play?
You have trust issues in terms of this deal?
Well, I'm not privy to the details of the deal. But what I'm privy to is the prevailing circumstance, the facts, that as a matter of fact, we have not been beneficiating diamonds in our country. And as a result, we have been exporting jobs. We have not been a big player in jewelry manufacturing. Mauritius, which doesn't have precious minerals, is far ahead of Botswana. So I'm saying, if you are saying you want more diamonds, to what end? To just auction the same way that Okavango company, ODC, has been auctioning diamonds? Or you want to beneficiate diamonds? What is your target of beneficiating
why is this
the diamonds?
Relationship being, only condemned by us, within the country, while, some other leaders are bracing,
Which leaders?
Julius Malema
to what extent do they know about the nitty-gritties of the deal? Well, on the surface, on the surface,
they're just praising the
on the surface,
without necessarily knowing the details.
On the surface, and remember, we have said we accept a deal where we can have more shares of the diamonds, provided we will get value for our diamonds. You cannot get the 50% and you are not able to get the value. If you get the 50% of the diamonds and then you are unable to negotiate a better deal in terms of the price, in terms of the price, what will be the point? If you are unable to beneficiate the diamonds, but you have gotten the 50% shares of the diamonds that are produced by the Botswana, what will be the point? If you are not going to create more jobs through those diamonds, what will be the point?
Yes. The constitutional amendment bill. When you speak in Parliament, you sound like somebody who we have so much problem with the powers that are vested upon the the president of the country. What is exactly your concern?
No, that is not my only concern. It's a concern of Botswana.
Yeah.
Let's start with the academics who have written on constitutional matters. Everybody. Are you talking about political parties? Yes. You are talking about NGOs, Bokongo, which represent hundreds of when a country economy yaka Switzerland, President the top person in the executive. They don't even have a bigger cabinet like Yerna Leone. But they are prospering economically. When you talk about manufacturing industry, jewelry manufacturing, they have the best brands in the world. They have one of the best economies in the world. But the head of the executive doesn't have the power. Why should we have a president who can dissolve parliament at any time for any reason when that president is not directly elected? Why do you have a president who cannot be prosecuted when the president of the United States of America can be prosecuted, when the British Prime Minister can be prosecuted, when the South African president can be prosecuted? Much bigger countries and bigger economies, their presidents can be prosecuted. In terms of Section 41 of our Constitution, our president cannot be prosecuted. Why? Why should the president be above the law? The Constitution provides in Section 47, subsection 1, that the executive power of Botswana vests in the president and shall be exercised by him, either directly or indirectly through officers subordinate to him. Subsection 2 says, in the exercise of his executive functions, the president shall act in his own deliberate judgment and is not obliged to take any advice tendered to him by any person or any authority. What kind of a president of a democratic republic who is not obliged to take advice from parliament or from cabinet? And you want to tell me that is a democracy? Right.
Gongwe jaaka ntse re tsenya di amendments committee stage se leng gore possibly no batile gore gongwe mola mothara o ka tokadiwa ka tsone. My last question to you, are you coming back as the member of parliament for Silwe West?
I am. I mean, Batoba Pico have taken a decision. I have represented the constituency with honor and distinction for the past almost 10 years. I have demonstrated I remain the MP who presented more bills in the 11th and the 12th Parliament. Ke presentile ditshutiso tsa gore itsholola ya Silwe Phikwe e ka tokagadiwa jang gore batho ba bereke. Ke emetse banana, ke emetse bomme, ke emetse ba ba tshelang ka bogole, ke emetse ba bereki. The unemployed and the poor and the downtrodden.
Do you feel there is any
parliament? So now my confidence in Mohoreng Botswana bata top umbrella for democratic change gore itise diphetogo mo matshelong a bone ka gore ba lapisitswe ke empty promises tsa the ruling party tse leng gore ga di diragale tse leng gore go tatenya re tata re dira ditiro di heta 100,000 ka kole ya motakase ha re wa botsa ga tenya electric mobility go buiwa dipotse di ganang go. So I think that tired of those things.
Have you sensed have you sensed any onslaught or campaign possibly
of
from
course I have
possibly
never
from the Botswana Congress Party
I first
to make sure that you don't come back to parliament?
I first contested elections when I was still a teenager. I believe I was 19 years at the University of Botswana for SRC elections. And what I know is that no opponent should be taken lightly. And that the opponent was you need to work hard as I'm working hard.
Minister Beauty Manake is working very hard in the constituency.
Well, BDP has not gone for primaries, so BDP has not gone for primaries. It may be Opelo Makandela, who I ran against in 2014. It may be Memanake. COBCP, they already have a candidate.
Did you feel threatened by Beauty Manake?
Well, threatened in what manner? I mean, any political challenge should be taken seriously, as I say. But I think the people are the best judges. They've been observing what obtains in Parliament. They've been observing flagrant abuse of office.
Your take on, as the last question, your take on, the gentleman who replaced you at the Botswana Congress Party, Ruben Kaiser?
I don't know what you mean by replacing me, but the gentleman who won primaries, who won primaries.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him, but to be honest.
Okay.
I grew up in that party.
You don't know him?
Yes, I don't know him. Ke ra ora ke ra motho sa moitse ha o ka kwa ka o wa moitse. But ke itse banana ba le bantsi ba mo BCP ba goletse mo BCP. Ha ke itse ro join le BCP na le active ko kae. No ha ke ise ke ra gore as a matter of fact ke dumela gore le ma BCP ba le bantsi bana ba hakhamala ba utwa lina la gago but me ra itse ke ra re ba ile gore ke ntse le ma BCP ba active ra ba itse so ya no ke tabe ke sa I recent ke tabe ke sa iri boammaru ri hankare ke discuss his strengths or weaknesses when I don't know him ha no re ke go bolelle ka Thabologo furniture he has been a member of the BCP ka muitsi ha no re ke bue ka any youth member kana dimpho mashaba nka go bolela sengwe ka dimpho mashaba
kana lo timanya
le banana ba BCP no ke ra banana ba ko BCP but ena ga ke muitsi so I don't want to lie
ke right so Dithapelo Lefoko Keorapetse leader of opposition in the National Assembly of Botswana, also a member of parliament for Silibe Phiko West ke no na re tetse mo tsatsing la gompieno on the Batenegi Parliament talk show re Keorapetse me ke tsa sebaka sa ra ke itumele gore o bonno re tetse
thank you so much thank you very much
right.
Thank you very much
like I said the leader of opposition in the National Assembly of Botswana right so Dithapelo Lefoko Keorapetse also remember that he's a member of parliament for Silibe Phiko West na gona le dintsi tsene ke le tse gore na le ene re ka di bua wanted us to also revisit the economic empowerment bill and issues surrounding it to hear his perspective but na go ke yone e leng gore ga re ya re emasente but then parliament both on YouTube and Facebook Access TV Facebook. We're doing this every Tuesday from 7 o'clock up until 8 o'clock. Bagaiso, ki video wa kheng e Batenegi mshwana mhala tsekere a ne boroko.